Oh hey guys, let's animate a fiery explosion. So in the previous tutorials I did a few different designs and I landed on this one as the guy I'd like to use. So let's talk about a few things before I get started. First off, I've got it set up in my sprite sheet template. So on a different layer I've got all 16 frames laid out. Right now it's just one frame. And I'm going to go in on my animation layer and I'm going to double click so I'm inside of the symbol where I've got my guide layer set up behind the radial lines, and let's create a new layer over here. I'll select blue. So there's a few things that I'd want to consider when I'm looking at this guy, and there's a lot going through my mind of thinking of how I'm going to make it animate. The number one thing that's going through my mind is how in the world am I going to divide up these circles. So I've got this circle here. That's probably about where it goes, sure. And I've got this circle here. And these guys are going to overlap. You don't want to think of these as like, perfectly flat shapes. These shapes have a dimension, they're spheres, and they're going to overlap with each other. I've never in my life animated an explosion quite like this one before, so this is going to be a learning experience for everybody. So we got these shapes going on, and then we got these orange shapes. Oops, that connects through. Yeah, it'll connect through about like that. And I got one over here. And I'm noticing this shape here, and this is why I do this exercise. It's because I want to know for myself where these all divide. So this shape is going to come down like this. And this is really important, because when these guys start splitting up and breaking apart, I have to know where one shape ends and where another one begins. Alright, and then I can come in here and do these more straightforward guys. Right? And this exercise is just to help me out as I'm animating. I'm not actually going to animate these shapes. These are just kind of reference shapes as to what's what and what animates. So finish that. Alright. I'm also going to have some secondary shapes in here. This is going to divide like so, and these guys are going to divide out too. Something like this. I don't really know exactly yet, but that'll be more towards the end of the animation when things are really breaking apart. I'll divide that up like so. Cool. So we've got that going. Now just so you know, that's what's in the back of my mind. I'm going to make this a guide layer. And I'm going to start doing some basic timing pass on this. I'm going to put that on frame 3, and then I'm going to come over here, hit F7 a few times, get myself some keyframes. So this is the major impact explosion. I'm going to turn on onion skinning to, ooh, I really cannot see that. Let's see, outline onion skinning might be better for this situation, because this guy's pretty dark. Alright, so knowing that my shape comes all the way over here and that it is bursting outwards, but I only have a little bit more space to go, I'll put it right about here. Okay. I don't like how this is moving at an angle like that. You see how it's sliding out that way? The goal is to make it feel like it's sliding out from the center. Go. It's getting a little too flat now. I'm a little too extreme in that direction. That's better. This guy's a little bit cornered off over here. Now, like I said, I want this shape to divide right there, so I'm just going to do the beginnings of that. use the line tool to divide that off, and just get that started. You know what though? I want this shape up here to be out further than that shape, so I want to flip-flop that. So let's see how I can do such a thing. I'm going to have to move my crack down in order to pull that off. If I still want to maintain this curve, I have to move this down here. Alright. So now I've got the problem of this edge actually moving in, which I don't like, because it needs to billow outward. So I'll probably put that up here. Got some sirens coming. A little bit of morning serenade. There we go. Flip, 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 flip. Alright, I'll worry about the shadow shapes much later, after I've done my work on this. Let's see. So then this guy, so I've got to be conscious of how these are billowing out. So basically, my billowing should be done in the first half of the animation. So I'm going to move this over because you think about it, an explosion needs to billow out really quick and then start the dissolve, and the dissolve is why I have so much time laid out. That's why I have 16 frames. That's actually a long time to pull off a dissolve. So you can do all the billowiness, and then we'll do the dissolvedness. Okay. Now I don't want these to move the same amount, and right now they're moving about the same amount, and that's kind of boring. So maybe this guy on the right here, he has a lot less momentum, but he's a little more stretchy. So maybe he holds on to the bottom, like so, and he doesn't really expand sideways as much, but he's just kind of stretching up. Like so. Feels nice. And then this guy, I don't know. Like I said, I've never done this animation before. I'll do this bigger one first. I'm going to stick with the stretchy theme on this guy and leave it the same at his base. Then really blow it out like that. Oh, that's too far. Let's not do that. Let's make it chubby. So it feels like a balloon expanding. I want this to feel kind of like a bubbly explosion. Yeah, I like that a lot better. As an animator, you get to make all kinds of fun choices about, do I want it to move one way or another way? What's the emotion that I'm going for? And really the time to be thinking of those questions is in your keyframes, which is the stage we're at right now. Alright. What can I do with this guy? I don't know, I could do a lot of things with him. You know what? I'm gonna go crazy and do that and have him already start to eat away. Because why not? We're doing variety, right? May as well throw it in there with the keyframe stage. Let's do this guy expanding inward. We'll give it the feeling like it's coming up more towards the camera. There we go. And then we'll do this guy. He's hit his max speed, so he's going to kind of flatten out against the air current. It's probably a little too big. There we go. So this is where the cool air is, right? So as it goes, it's going to cool off. Maybe this guy still has a little further to travel. Became a little bit skinnier. This guy's traveling out here. We'll let him hit his spot. Maybe he still keeps a little bit of shape here, so it's not the same as his counterpart over here. Make him a little bit different. And then this guy is already really, really slow, so I think he's really not going to move at all. Because he's not a speed shape, right? He's already flattened out. And he could even maybe start shrinking a bit. Alright, and let's see. Yeah, I don't want that too thin side to side. And then we'll do another one that's going to put a little spin on it. So to spin a shape, it's going to be rotated like that, but then I also want that to happen. And maybe slow it down a bit. And shrink it down a bit. There we go. Alright, now on these guys, yeah, I think that's satisfactory. And I'll have this one move further. So they're not just twinning. Never have two same shapes right by each other moving at the same speed. Never, 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 never. Alright. So now I want to slow things way down. So if it moved that far before, I only want this to move like so. Just a little bit. And then I want this guy to shrink. So again, I have two shapes, but they're moving different amounts. So this one's moving a little bit, but this one's shrinking quite a bit. And this guy, if I do this, then I've kind of got a twinning thing going on like that, which may be okay. I don't know. Let's see. No, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to have some shapes, and I got to plan ahead for when I have the fiery shapes in here. So I'm going to have like some kind of fiery shape coming in like this or something. So I don't want to eat this away, because that'd be bad. And then I'll try something else. Let's try a creative way to dissolve this guy. Maybe he gets a hole in it. Might look terrible. I don't know. Alright, so then this guy comes up here as he gets smaller. My goal with these tutorials is really to give you guys insight into what the heck I was thinking as I did all this, and I just noticed this guy here wasn't included. Might feel kind of left out. There we go. Alright, so we got this shape that grew up there. But we know, because of the shadow shape, that it's going to divide down the middle there. So let's get that underway. That's problematic. So I've got potentially a loop, and a loop. And I don't like that. So let's divide this guy up higher. Up here, so there's a loop, a big loop, and a little one. And then we have the diesel truck about to start up. Diesel noise muffled. Alright. Come up here. Where was that at? Oh, it wasn't that far down. It was right about there. We can even have some more fun with this because we've got this top shape up here. And let's say this guy is just normal shape, carve this away here. And like in Flash, it's really easy to erase and brush, and erase some more and brush some more. Let's shrink this drastically. There we go. Now this shape down here isn't moving very well. I would almost expect it to just simply move off and do its own thing. Something like that. Maybe it moves forward a little more. It's a little too much. Perfect. And then this guy is already shrinking down. This guy's doing his thing. Let's see, while I'm at it, I'll move this keyframe over so these are evenly spaced. While I'm thinking about it, maybe this guy breaks into two, I don't know. Shouldn't break into two that are the same size though. keep them varied. Go. This guy never did move very fast, so he's already slowing down now. This guy's ready to start shrinking because he already started slowing. This guy. What am I going to do with this guy? Maybe he'll also break into two. But I'll leave them kind of connected this time. Just notice the variety all around that I'm doing on this. It's all about, you know, each shape doing something similar, so they all feel like they're moving together, but that they're not doing exactly the same thing. That's really what I want to emphasize in this tutorial specifically, is if you have all your shapes basically moving the same, that's no bueno. It's no bueno, guys. That means not bueno in Spanish. Oh. It's one color. Alright. So this guy's coming out here. I don't know, not all of them have to squish. Maybe this guy just squishes this way because that's how he squishes. Right, and then we have the final frame, which I feel like my gut tells me I actually should not be on the final frame yet at all. So what I'm going to do now is basically, by now everything has lost momentum. So I'm going to do the fun part of coming in and making everything shrink within itself. Remember, this lower one was shrinking much faster, and if I leave it in the middle there, it would be better if I off-centered it just a little bit. Probably. Maybe not. If I'm going to off-center it though, I should probably off-center this one too. So it's not shrinking uniformly one frame and then off to one side another. So yeah, basically what I mean is the gap over here is now bigger than the gap over here. and then it's more pronounced here. That's a much bigger gap than that. Okay, that circle is going to expand out and get us this dude. If I want that to rotate, I should do that. And yeah, I'm not going to add little details. It's really tempting to do like this kind of thing, but because it's such a cartoony style, I recommend against it. In fact, some of these small shapes should be dead by now, because I need a threshold of what's the minimum size my shapes can be before I kill them off. I think that's about as small as I want to go. So that means that this guy will still live just a little bit longer. But a lot of these are on their deathbed. You know, that guy, he's done. He's too thin. I feel like I could slow down even more, and then I'm just going to lean it towards that so it's shrinking down, but it still feels like it's traveling outward because it's shrinking more on the top than it is in the bottom side. If I were to do it like this, it would feel really weird to like be going down, down, and then suddenly shrinking so much from the front. So I'm going to leave it there. Okay. All the little bits, pieces. Yeah. Add another little toenail clip. This guy never really was moving forward very much. He just kind of stayed in place. This guy is similar story. I'll let him stay wide. Alright, now we have kill frame, and this feels much, much better. We're in a much better spot. So all those little bits are gone. We just have these big shapes left. And I don't want it to blob in. I'd rather it breaks apart, because smoke is the opposite of goo. It breaks apart very easily, whereas goo would sort of slime in like this. You want to avoid doing that unless you want goopy smoke. So generally speaking, you know, smoke breaks apart very easily. So I'm going to do it that way. All right, and then a flash frame. So for the flash frame, I want the whole thing to feel just round and bubbly, and then it rapidly is going to fade off to that. So it's going to just be like so. So it's just smaller versions of each shape. And then a transition, perhaps, between the two. So let's see how we do this. So I'll just basically, let's try this. Let's overextend, because we want it to bubble, right? And bubbles have a tendency to wobble. So it'll overextend. And you don't want it to uniformly overextend everywhere. Maybe on these it actually doesn't even go past. Okay, and then we're going to come in here and we're going to show beginnings of this smoke asserting itself. So these smoky shapes are actually going to be smaller than these ones, is the kind of the thought. And having them on the outer edge is the way to go because flame cools as it expands. It turns into smoky air. Alright. Maybe it's wiser to leave these there where they'll be. Yeah. Well, no, that'll work. That'll work. I'll leave it bigger. Alright. We don't want the smoke to be bigger for sure than its counterparts. So let's fill all these in now. Whoa, that's not closed off. There we go. Okay, I can do a Control A, select the lines and say none. And I don't know how this is going to look. Let's find out. I don't like it. Let's double check this thing. Let's see here. Scale it way down. Is there anything that I do like? So I like how the resolution is looking for sure. The dispersion is fine. The part I don't like is this stuff at the beginning. The flash frame is just hitting me really weird. Like that's better, but let's see this again. Yeah. So looking at it really small is really helpful, first off, because you can see the general shapes really well. It's the same effect as if you get up and walk away from your computer and squint. You can kind of see the overall shapes. Now, what I'm thinking on this is that it might look a lot better once I start painting in these flamey shapes. It's kind of tricky. Let's look at what we've got. So one thing I can try doing, because it's such a vast difference from there to there, one thing I can try to do is I can paint in these shapes, right? Which already is helping. So now I've got this nice beginning of a transition. So I don't start with smoky shapes so early. Something more like that. So you can see these shapes becoming their counterparts later on. It was actually kind of fun when it was like the same line right there. Alrighty. Chances are, if you're kind of liking it in this form, it'll look pretty good when you preview it as a movie. So flipping between frames again and again is pro strat. I like that. Okay, so now let's also add in these outer bits. And this is maybe the part that I was really missing. Because maybe it just needed some outward striking motion. And I'm of course using this guide that I have. To line these up. feel like I'm missing somebody. Yeah, that guy right there. Cool. Oh, that's feeling smoother. Let's check it out here. Curve splat. Feels like a nice splatty, bubbly poof. What's going on there? Cool. So that's the first part of this stylized cartoon explosion. In the next tutorial, I'm going to talk about adding in some more of those shadow shapes, and then if we have time in that tutorial, I'll start in betweening it. If not, I'll split it out to another tutorial. But there you have it. Hope you learned something.